Welcome to KBA's Vendor Viewpoint podcast, where we bring together Kentucky bankers and the industry's top vendor solutions to discuss important topics that affect your bank. And this is Selina Parrish, KBA Director of Membership Products and Services. Today, we're featuring KBA-endorsed NetGain Technologies. David Mauro is Vice President of Business Development for Cybersecurity and Managed IT Services. Thank you, David, for being with us today. Tell our audience about your background and all the fun things you get to do at NetGain.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Selina, for having us on. It's an honor to kind of be able to speak with you and to address the KBA membership. I began my adult working career, about 3 decades ago, started as a trial attorney and a prosecutor, migrated over to cybersecurity during the Y2K era. If anybody can remember that, after working a stint at Lloyd's of London, been part of FBI's InfraGard for a number of years and served in various leadership roles at large managed service and managed security service providers. Did that for last 10, 15 years, and then I was fortunate enough to find NetGain. I had actually admired them from afar because of their people, their culture, their security team. It's nationally known, and I was fortunate enough to get to know them and begin with them. And the working alongside the KBA and the services that they're providing for KBA members is really remarkable. Like helping from day-to-day operations with managed IT, but then also helping guide them and provide the oversight with cybersecurity compliance. It's so important today. It's really needed.
It sure is, and it touches so many different departments at the bank. And I think I saw this is NetGain's 40th anniversary year. Is that what I saw?
It is. They've been they've been at it for a long time, since the 80s, if you can believe that. Now, obviously, the model was different then because, cybersecurity wasn't a big thing back then, but they've really embraced it and really evolved. And the design and the model is always kind of improving and influxing, being customized for what the market needs and what the clients need. And what we're seeing more than ever today are a lot of our banking and financial institution clients, whether they're family offices, wealth management groups, you name it, CPA firms, community banks, true banking entities. What a lot of them are addressing is the concern they have about protection of consumer information, especially when it comes to vendor relationships. The new Dodd-Frank, the Section 1033 rule, some of the new challenges that are being raised, and some of the amendments and modifications to it are really taxing on financial institutions. And so we're helping them address that and helping them guide them along.
Definitely. And that seems to be in the banking industry where regulations never go away. They just keep coming at us from all different directions. And I know from talking to our member banks, IT exams are not fun. And I know you all help navigate a lot of that for the banks when you go on your projects to help banks, and some of the banks are even going virtual now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we provide a whole host of cybersecurity and compliance services, as well as the day-to-day managed IT operations support for banking institutions. And even those involve certain layers of cybersecurity. But our approach is really proactive at NetGain. We address consumer data protection kind of head on with helping banks with developing policies, the examinations and the audit preparation, guidance, creation of the controls, and then reporting on that. Because compliance isn't just about rendering the security services that are required, it's the reporting of it, like helping the organizations actually prepare the right reporting and the right metrics to show demonstratively that it's actually helped and reduced risk. The banking industry in general, it does quite well in terms of cybersecurity compared to other industries. When you think of law, healthcare, education, manufacturing, banking, I guess if we follow the money, right? Like the government mandated that be protected first, and then our health right along with it, right? Through HIPAA and high trust. But the banking industry has really kind of embraced it quite well, and they have the right systems in place. I think overall, we're starting to see those best practices roll out into some of the other verticals, which is nice.
Yes, and with the regulatory oversight in the banking industry, we're always making sure that our documentation is ready and available as soon as those examiners walk in the door. And I know you've often said building a culture inside the organization for cybersecurity is such a big focus, because I think my IT department has told me I'm the weakest link because I'm going to click on something that
we like
I
to
shouldn't
use
click
buzzwords.
on. So
look, we like to use buzzwords on that. I mean, when we think about the ways to protect consumer data and how to manage vendors, right? The right way. Our approach has always been to do it ourselves too. So we ourselves are SOC 2, level 2 compliance. We go through that ourselves, and it's a good way of, it's a strong statement basically of commitment to client data protection. And then the vendors and tool sets that we ourselves use are with vendors and platforms that they themselves value it. The Microsofts, Arctic Wolves, Huntresses of the world. But yeah, when it comes to cybersecurity, social engineering is clearly the most effective and most impactful way, because we can have all the technology and compliance rules, policies, platforms in place. But when we, the people, let them in, right, they get in right around those, right? And adversaries, threat actors, the media and Hollywood always call them hackers, but actually hacking the practice, or there's actually really good hackers that help, right? So it's not hackers that are necessarily bad, but it's really those threat actors that do the hacking. They're really good at their job. Like, let's face it, they're very, very good at their job. And the people that get manipulated, that get socially engineered, are not dumb and not bad at their job. Right? They get emotionally hijacked. They get caught when they're distracted. They get persuaded by very, very persuasive, impressive forms. And with AI and the recent advancements, you've seen some amazing advancements just in the last 4 to 6 months. So, whenever we approach, helping organizations raise their security culture, we always focus on security awareness training, lunch and learns, doing collaborative whiteboard sessions, just to build culture, right? Because they're fun, they're engaging. But whenever we say the phrase security awareness training, I think when I first met you and I mentioned that, your eyes like rolled back. You were like, oh no, not 1,000 PowerPoint slides. And I'm like, but now that you've seen what we're talking about, you realize it's nothing like that, right? The way that we engage with organizations is interactive. There's gamification, there's videos, there's a whole host of truly collaborative discussions where we kind of make sense of it all and we break it all down so that people understand why paying attention and being more vigilant is so important. When we think about it, people go to their jobs, but they care mostly about themselves and their families. So the security awareness training that we provide helps that first. It helps the individual attendees themselves freeze their credit, see if they've been part of a breach, how to increase the privacy of their own mobile devices and their own accounts and finances. And then we help them help their families. Now they're brought in. Now they understand. Now they start to care more about security and improve their cyber hygiene. By doing that, then all of a sudden they bring that better cyber hygiene, those better habits, and that vigilance to work with them. And then the organization benefits.
It does touch us in all levels of our life, doesn't it? It's not just within the four walls of where we work. It seems to be everywhere. And you did mention artificial intelligence, and that's where I know right now so many of the banks are using that as one of the areas of, I guess we're trying to figure it all out. There's good AI, and then there's bad AI in the whole dark web and how they're handling AI in a negative way. But from your perspective, how should banks be navigating through this whole conversation of AI?
Yeah, that's a long conversation. Right, but it's an arms race right now, because while AI is definitely being used by the defenders in speeding up what otherwise or previously used to be manual tasks, right? And correlating data and really being able to gain better visibility, right? Being able to see things that they couldn't see that were threats. Some of the largest statistics and some of the most shocking ones are how adversaries are inside networks close to 6 months or longer before they actually launch certain attacks, and they're undetected. Like they leverage AI to build their malware so that they get in undetected. So the defenders are leveraging AI in order to overcome that and detect it. It really goes back and forth, but having good policies in place, having updated policies. I mean, AI and the COVID pandemic, I think, were two generational massive interruptions that changed the way that we do business. And so they truly are generational. I look at AI and its rollout very similar to the rollout of the automobile. People are concerned that they're going to lose their jobs. Some may, but very few will. And yet exponentially more will find new jobs because of it. Just like the automobile, yes, we lost some horse and buggy mechanics, right? But we burgeoned an entire automobile industry, right? That was exponentially larger than that industry. And so that's what we're starting to see. And we're already starting to see it. And in the next 10, 15 years, it's going to come to fruition. It'll be very palatable and tactical, which will be great. But addressing AI is, I think, generative AI and knowing what we do, I think that's the real important thing. Just really realizing, how are we going to be attacked using AI? What are they doing today? Because they are using it. There have been several successful AI attacks against banks here in the United States. And it's important to be aware of those, right? And so part of our public service is, and we have this no cost, we've started this 12 years ago. We've run these alongside FBI agents, and we offer it to all of the KBA members, is a live lunch and learn where we talk about the best practices, the real interactive approaches to how organizations are leveraging AI to attack financial institutions and what to look for. And we give concrete examples, real life examples. And the point is just to raise awareness, right? And just by, we can't defend against a foe we don't know, right? And so we have to know, what are they doing? And some of it is just mind blowing. It's just shocking. And that's why it can't be done by PowerPoint. I have to show you the video of it. I have to like demonstrate it and bring it alive, because when people realize that, they're like, holy cow, they're doing this to us now. Like, and then we just have to be aware of it, because, that email is also followed up by a Zoom calendar invite where somebody gets on live, and guess what? It's somebody that you thought you knew, and they sound like themselves and they look like themselves, and yet they're not them. It's actually a deep fake. And there are over 100 examples of this, which has been effectively used against financial institutions right here in the United States in the last 12 months. And so that's the type of thing we need to bring awareness to, because most security awareness that's out there is talking about how to spot a phishing email and how to not click on something. And it's much more than that, right? It is much more of, it's going to be a context of a phone call, a calendar invite, a virtual meeting, a letter you may get. It's done in campaigns, very similar to a marketing campaign. And so once we realize that, we're able to spot them all better.
And when KBA members take advantage of your awareness training, what is that time frame? Do they need an hour, or do they need 2 hours? How do you structure that training program for the member banks?
Excellent question. They are all roughly around an hour long. They can be done virtually, on site. We provide the recording of it. Everybody gets take-home resources that they can use to protect themselves, their families, like I mentioned earlier, as well as their organization. And then all of it is done at no cost, and there are no strings attached. You do not have to do business with NetGain in order to do this. We don't talk about our solutions. There is no sales talk during it. It is pure training. I've been doing it for 12 years. And we'll even make a donation to the American Heart Association, should the organization choose to have us in. So, it truly is a public service. I mean, we run these because the FBI started doing them about 12, 15 years ago. And they just did it simply to raise awareness, because it's just not something they teach in school, right? It's not something that they teach us at work, or if they do teach us at work, it's generally pretty boring. And so we have to do it a little better.
Yeah. I could even see where a member bank would invite you in to do it for their employees, but then what a great opportunity it would be to maybe host small businesses in the community, and a bank bring in customers and have you do it for their customers.
We have done, over the last 12 years, I've done it in all of those formats. I've done it for individual banks. I've done it for banks hosting events for their customers. And we've done it at Tesla dealerships. We've done it, like, you name it. We've done it. I do 1 to 2 a week, sometimes 3 or 4 a week. And so we do them all the time, and they just keep they get updated every week or two. So, like, there's always something in the news. There's always something that can be customized for an organization.
More stories to tell, right? Because it seems like every news report has there's
a lot
story.
Yeah. And whenever I see them, I always want to dig in and find out, well, what really happened? Why did that happen?
Right.
And the more you learn about it, the more you realize, sometimes you just knock your head against the wall and you're like, what? How did that? Like, why did they do that? But then sometimes, a lot of times, especially with financial institutions, they're good people working really hard, getting just busy, and they have good practices, but something like slips under the radar because they just weren't kind of vigilant in that one moment, right? And so we actually address some of that. We address some of the personal things you can do to to make sure you pause before you act, and to avoid some of those complications, and just overall reduce the risk and protect the consumer data.
And it does feel like we have to suspect everything as being possibly not reality, right? So
it would be great if I could have deep faked myself for this podcast. That would have been
gosh, that would have been incredible.
Yeah, it would have proven my point, but I didn't. I'm here in life form. But it is a different world today, and in the last 12 months, it's gotten uh, a lot different. But it's not that scary. It's just we have to look at the same things a little differently, and ask ourselves, because it's really about it's almost like detecting, like, was this a magic trick or was it not? And if it was a magic trick, how did they do it? Right. Yes. And so it's really just about aspects like that. But we welcome the opportunity to train any KBA membership organization. We will do them. We don't need a lot of prep time. We do them all the time. Again, there is no cost. There is no strings attached. And they're fun. People rave about them. People really, really enjoy them. They always learn something, and they always have stories to tell afterward. So I welcome anybody to get in touch with us.
Well, I know KBA's IT department has you scheduled to perform here.
Yes, we are actually doing one next week. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
So thank you. It'll be great to have you here and participating with us as employees of the KBA. And for the audience, what is the best way for them to get in contact with you if they would like to schedule awareness training or just talk with you about all the NetGain services?
Absolutely. Right at our website, right at NetGain's website, and I believe we'll have a link in the description. It's netgainit.com. We have a page on there on the public service, or they could just reach out to me, David Mauro. I'm active on LinkedIn, and I'm available right here in Lexington at NetGain. So they can get in touch with us any way possible, and we will be glad to set something up, or at least share the content and show you what we're talking about and see if it's suitable. A lot of organizations really enjoy them. A lot of internal IT leaders too like it, because it helps sometimes let the employees hear from somebody other than them, because they've probably been trying to build a security minded culture for years, and they've probably gotten a lot of traction, but they can always use some further support.
Yes, sometimes that outside voice can make a difference, just to bring in some fresh new training conversation. Yeah,
and in particular, I think a lot of the perspective we bring is we've seen a lot of things. Like in my role, I see all the different industries. I speak with leaders and CEOs and CFOs and CIOs of all these different types of, verticals and industries and different approaches to cybersecurity. And oftentimes we get brought in when we weren't otherwise engaged with them, but we get brought in after a breach occurs and we're asked to help out. And then when that occurs, we kind of, open it up and see what went wrong. The results often are pretty surprising. So there's always stories to tell, and there's always lessons to learn in each one.
Sounds like you need to write a book, David.
Of all I'd love to. Maybe.
Oh my gosh. It sounds like you are a walking encyclopedia of all things that have happened in technology and cybersecurity and everything that you've taken advantage, as far as the services that you've offered. But we greatly appreciate you being with us today and sharing your expertise with our audience. And we do have NetGain information on KBA's website at kybanks.com. So you can find more information about NetGain through KBA's website. And David, any closing remarks for the audience as we wrap up today's podcast?
No, thank you, Selina, so much. And thank you to the KBA. And again, any way that we can help in any way and support the KBA members, that's what we want to do. So I really appreciate your time and the opportunity to have this venue. It's a great podcast, and we really appreciate being invited.
Thank you, David. That's all for this episode of KBA Vendor Viewpoint. And until next time, this podcast is a wrap. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for being with us.